Do you like the show and you want to make your own? Well, let me tell you about Anchor. It's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And now you can even add any song from Spotify directly to your episodes. The possibilities are endless for what you can create. Now, Anchor is going to distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. And you can make money from your podcast. No minimum listenership needed. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive.
It is your Thursday, September 29th edition. The Drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. We're going to take your phone calls and texts this hour. Phone line is 877-420-TALK, 877-420-8255. The text line, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. 8255. Big day today for Thundering Herd Athletics. I just got back not that long ago from the future site of the Marshall Baseball Park. Big announcement made today. Jim Justice, governor of the state of West Virginia, showed up and presented Marshall with a $13.8 million check coming out of economic development funds. So the Thundering Herd can move forward, and the baseball park should be a reality. The timetable is to begin construction, hopefully in October, with a March 2024 date for opening up and playing baseball. So big news today, big event. Just got back from not that long ago, so I had a chance to catch up with several of the people that were there. And we'll hear from Christian Spears. We'll hear from Brad Smith, affectionately known as Brad from Canova. We'll hear from Jim Justice in just a moment. I had a chance to catch up with Huntington Mayor Steve Williams as well, and Jeff Wagner, baseball coach. So a lot of people there today for this announcement. Governor threw out the ceremonial first pitch, basically the construction first pitch. And this thing is closer to being a reality now with the funding. Bob Pruitt's name came up today. He was a big reason why that this happened. Marshall needed funding, needed to finish out the funding to make this a reality. And so, according to the governor, when he spoke to the crowd earlier, he basically said that he got a phone call. It was Bob. Bob Pruitt called him up and said they needed the money to make this thing a reality. So we'll hear from the governor here in the next few minutes. If we have time, we're going to talk basketball with you as well. Don't forget, basketball practice beginning yesterday, so I had a chance to catch up with a few of the players. We'll talk a little football as there is a football game on Saturday. Marshall's taking on Gardner-Webb. So we got all of that to get into. So I want to do that with you when we continue. So let's take our first break now. We'll get your phone calls and text in as well. The text line is open, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. We will start it off with all of our interviews when we continue with this edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Thanks for being a part of today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. As I mentioned earlier, big day today for Thundering Herd Athletics. As Governor Jim Justice on hand to present a $13.8 million check coming out of economic development funds. Marshall having some conversations, and one of the people that cited let's just go ahead and be honest. Bob Pruitt's got Jim Justice on speed dial. I'm pretty sure Jim takes Bob's calls. So when making this announcement today, talking about the funding, Jim told the crowd that well, Bob Pruitt called. You got to take Bob Pruitt's call, right?
He called me about this, and then we've worked and worked and worked to try to find a way through all the different angles that we have at the governor's office and everything. From the standpoint of economic development, it's so long overdue, it's unbelievable. And so, congratulations to all of you. You make me proud. You make me really, really proud. And Coach Wagner, Christian, all you guys, but you've got a team now that is second to none, and God knows I'm proud to be a part of it. Thank you so much.
So the governor on hand today with the check made a ceremonial pitch. He had several practice pitches before he actually made the one that counted. And when he was asked about how important this was to Huntington, the governor cited economic development as a big reason.
Well, to me, it's real economic development. Huntington is such a precious, precious city that has so much potential, it's off the chart. You know, you've got Nucor coming right up the road. You've got so many things that are happening all around us within the state, but Huntington is an absolute gigantic key city to West Virginia. Marshall University, unbelievable school. You know, I was here when the plane went down. You know, my wife Kathy was here. You know, I was an athlete with brown hair and skinny, and literally, you know, we were on the field when we beat Xavier. You know, it meant so much to see us be able to go through all the different stuff that Coach Pruitt did while he was here. It was off the chart, the championships, everything. And then to beat Notre Dame. You know, I don't know how in the world it could have gotten any better than that. But now we have an incredible president here, and we've got a wonderful athletic director, and we're on our way. We're on our way at this school that I love with all my soul. And so with all that being said, you know, it really is a big-time honor for me to be able to come down and help out, you know, whether it be a grain of sand or as a big help out, you know, but at the same time, this is way overdue.
Way overdue, according to Governor Jim Justice. And he also said when he was asked about moving into the Sun Belt that this needed to happen.
Moving into the Sun Belt is a big deal. I mean, great big deal, you know, and everything. And to continue to move up and continue to do what we're doing, we got to compete. I mean, for crying out loud, you know, I mean, just envision. I mean, people see all the things that we're doing in West Virginia and see the things that Marshall University is doing, and they see them on the move, and then all kinds of just more and more and more goodness continues to happen. That's what we want right there, exactly just that.
That's comments from Governor Jim Justice. Again, Marshall University being presented with a check, $13.8 million coming out of the economic development funds, and Governor Justice on hand to make that presentation. It was an exciting day. That was first thing that was said to Athletic Director Christian Spears about this when he was speaking to the media.
Yeah, you guys know this because we were all a part of, you know, getting started here together back in March. And, you know, how many times we got asked about this baseball stadium. You asked me. Paul asked me. Everyone asked, when are we going to get this baseball stadium done? So we have been working on this in earnest over a number of months. And to see it all come together with such an unbelievable gift by the governor, right? You know, the way the process works is you share the economic development that you need and you tell them what's missing from the project. And then to have the governor and the state come through for Marshall University, I just couldn't imagine this day would come so quickly. So incredibly grateful. And gosh, I'm so excited for our program, who's waited decades, and all the alums that played here and all the people that care about baseball in this community. It's here and it's done.
Decades, correct. Decades being the key word here. This has been promised as long as I can remember, as long as I have been alive. This has been promised. So, exciting day indeed. Now, the timetable seems to be pretty much start breaking ground here in a few weeks. timetable for when this thing opens. It looks like it's going to be early 2024, according to Mr. Spears.
March 2024. We're going to try to stick to that timeline. You know, I realize the world spins in a different direction sometimes than we want it to, but we're going to do everything humanly possible to stay on that timeline. You know, when we established a 15-month build, we meant it. And we put out a RFP with a 15-month build schedule. So we're going to be aggressive with the group that we've chosen to help us get this thing done. And, you know, hold us accountable for March 2024, because that's what we're shooting for.
So March 2024, that's the date that we'll see baseball at Marshall and an on-campus facility. I was kind of curious just to know, how's this going to compare? Not just, is it going to be the best facility in the region? Is it going to be the best facility in the state? I mean, I was kind of curious as far as the peer institutions. How is this going to compare to other Sun Belt schools?
You know, we're going to get all the bells and whistles now, right? We've got some fundraising left to do. And what we need the good people of Huntington to do is to step up so that we can provide the amenities that make us a championship level program. We have a ballpark now. This gift gets us exactly where we needed to go. This grant allows us to build a ballpark. Now we need all of the amenities that allow you to have a championship program. So we're going to be fundraising for those in earnest over the next 24 months, and let's see if we can do something really special for this program.
So fundraising will continue, but the ballpark itself, the primary funding to get this thing going, seems to be secure now. And there's a big connection now. This is going to not just benefit baseball, it's going to benefit softball as well, because there's some opportunity here. You're going to have not just a baseball park, you're going to have a complex, a sort of an extension of campus, with the ballpark being right next to the softball field. And so there's some opportunity there, not just to have a couple of facilities, but to really connect the two. And Christian Spears explained a little further.
No, we already built in some of the configurations that we need. We have a chance to be special in women's softball in the Sun Belt. We have a chance to be special in men's baseball in the Sun Belt. We have great adjacencies. I wish we had picked the site all along. Well, let's share a parking lot. Let's share hitting and batting cages. Let's share lights. So all of that got built into this project so that we can honor the amazing women we have on our softball program and the kind of championship program I think we can have in that sport.
Marshall University Athletic Director Christian Spears, big day as well, according to Marshall President Brad Smith. You know him as Brad from Canova. So, Brad, really excited about the big day.
Well, this has been a dream for over 6 decades. We've known that our team deserves a field to play on, and our community has done everything they could to make it happen. And then today, we have the gift of the state and the governor to close out what we needed for fundraising to start construction and get this baseball field built so our kids can be playing ball in the spring of 2024.
Spring 2024. That's what we're shooting for. Again, timetable looks to be pretty rapid once the groundbreaking begins. They're looking for a quick turnaround on this facility. So, as we talked about earlier, Bob Pruitt made the phone call, right? Just called up Jim, said, "Hey, Jim, this is what we need. Can you help?" Brad Smith was asked about when do these conversations start, because I'm sure it wasn't just, "Hey, let me call up Jim real quick and see what happened." I mean, it could have been, but Brad talked a little bit more about when these conversations started.
The conversation started because we were very clear that we wanted to have a baseball field. We had a cost that we needed to try to manage it to. And then we have other individuals like Coach Bobby Pruitt, who reached out and said, "Are you aware of what Marshall's looking for?" And it's the combination of Coach Pruitt, Governor Justice, who is a son of Marshall, and the whole community that said, "Let's do what we can." And the whole state supported this. So I think this shows how important Marshall is to the state and how much the state means to Marshall University.
Marshall University President Brad Smith, and I was surprised we had a press conference today, because the last time we spoke, press conference was going to happen at the opening. That's what Christian Spears said. That's what Brad Smith said. Look, we're not going to have press conferences for groundbreaking. No, we'll have a press conference for the opening, grand opening of the stadium. No more press conferences, just construction. But the governor came to town today. He had $13.8 million with him. So I think you have a press conference. At least that's according to Brad Smith.
Our goal from day one has been no more press announcements. Let's just start moving dirt. Now, when you get a check for $13.8 million, you're going to actually have a press announcement. And after this, it's going to be starting to build.
So no more press announcements, just dirt flying. I thought I saw Jeff Wagner out there with a shovel already doing some pre-site work. I thought I saw him with a shovel there. We're going to hear from him a little bit later on. We'll also hear from Steve Williams. Don't forget, on this very program, Steve Williams, mayor of Huntington, and I've ribbed him a little bit over this, and he's a good sport about it. He's a very good sport, but I've ribbed him about this a little bit. Like, okay, you said there would be a baseball park before you're out of office. And I've kind of pointed that out now and then. Hey, where's the baseball park? You said it'd be done before you're out of office. Good sport, had a good conversation with him. You'll hear that a little bit later on. Also, we heard from Jeff Wagner, so we'll get to that. We're still going to talk about basketball. Marshall's moving to a new league, the Sun Belt. What the players think about that. And we'll talk a little football with you. Get your text in as well, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. I'm your host, Paul Swann. This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
We're taking your phone calls this hour. 304-396-TALK is our text line and the voice line, 877-420-TALK. Today was the day that Marshall University got its final major amount of funding needed for the construction to begin on the future baseball stadium. Jim Justice arriving in Huntington earlier this afternoon for a presser, $13.8 million awarded economic development fund. So that's going to get the ball rolling, the ground breaking. Marshall's going to have a baseball park sooner than you think here. And I was there earlier today and had a chance to catch up with Jeff Wagner, baseball coach of the Thundering Herd. Here's a guy who he has persevered through it all. Hey, we're going to get this for you, Coach. This is going to happen. We're going to make this happen. It's really going to happen. This is going to be a reality. Well, finally, there's prep being made on the site. There's buildings being knocked down. There's a lot of things going on, and there's going to be a baseball park. I know some of you still are like, look, hey, that's great, Paul. When it opens, I'll believe it. Until then. No, there's going to be a baseball park, and I had a chance to catch up along with Luke Creasy. We had a chance to corner Jeff Wagner's for a few minutes and get his thoughts. And again, exciting day for him as he talks about the project.
I think it goes beyond playing just the sport here. I think it's about getting the city and our alumni and fans to be part of something special to spring and bring together, and to bring that energy and excitement this spring is going to be a lot of fun, for sure.
Have you ever, in your wildest imagination, thought that we would get to this point so quickly after so many years of just misfires? Yes, it's going to happen. No, it doesn't. Now we're actually, we got construction going on here.
Well, I think with our new president and a new athletic director, Christian Spears, and President Smith, and our board of governors, I knew this was going to happen. That was the group that would get this done. So, really thank them and for Governor Justice to really step up to the plate. And it blows me away the amount of money that was given. And I just feel like this is going to be a huge asset to the city and really help the city grow. And I can't wait to bring in teams from the Sun Belt in here and actually have a home to call home. And we know what kind of level this is. This is one of the best conferences in the country, and all these teams have a ballpark like this, and they're recruiting some of the best players in the country, and we hope to do the same thing, and that's the goal. And it's not going to happen overnight either. We're going to have to get the right guys in here and build it the right way.
It sort of makes all the perseverance worth it.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's been a lot of hard work, and I am proud of what we've accomplished in the past, but so excited about the future and what's about to happen.
Jeff Wagner, baseball coach, Thundering Herd, here in a short time. He's finally going to get a proper baseball facility. Hopefully that means many years of Marshall baseball success, and it's going to be on campus as well. It'll be right next to softball. Great opportunity for you to go catch baseball. You could have afternoon game. You could have evening baseball. It's going to be baseball. And I overheard Christian Spears. They're going to make plays for other events. They're going to actually make plays to try to get other events in and make bids for state tournaments and other things that they can do at the stadium now that it's going to be a reality. So you could see a state championship being played on that field in the future. One other person that I had a chance to talk to today, and I needed to talk to him because I've had so many conversations with Huntington Mayor Steve Williams. And he's someone who has been very passionate about this needs to happen. There's a vision. Sometimes I can't see what he sees. He has to explain it to all of us because he's got a big picture in his head of where things need to be, where to go, and what needs to happen. And this is one of the things that he was adamant about. It's got to happen. It's going to happen. I mean, he was adamant when he said, it's going to happen before I'm out of office. Luckily for him, the voters of Huntington wanted to keep him around a couple of terms after his first term. So he had some time to do this. But now this is going to be a reality. And he's someone that I think also deserves a lot of credit. So I had a chance to catch up with him and talk about just the excitement of the project. Big day for you. You and I have talked many times about before you were done in office, this is going to happen. And you've worked hard. Now you've got a lot of help to make this a reality.
Well, isn't it interesting? When we were talking originally, nobody was believing it could be done. I mean, there's just sometimes you know it's going to happen. You just don't let go. This is the one thing that we are in Huntington. At Marshall, we never give up. We didn't know 2 years ago that we would have $40 million to work with. We were able to make an $8 million contribution. Fortunately, they were able to go in then and talk to the governor. And he said, so how much are you short? And I said, we need another $13 million. Okay. All right, good. But there's got to be some folks that believe, and the folks in this town do believe. And with the ones who were saying, well, we're not so sure, and we know who they were. There were those who aren't here anymore that were saying, oh, it's just a politician. Well, guess what? Sometimes politicians deliver. Right?
Perseverance pays off then. You had the vision and you got to the point where everyone shared that vision.
Well, over time, we've come to point everything that we've said that we were going to do, we're doing. That's gratifying. And I cannot wait to be here for not just opening day, but to be able to sit and hear the crack of the bat in the baseball stadium. This is not just good for Marshall, and it's not just good for Huntington, it's good for the region. And that's why we've had the level of success these last 10 years, is that we've never thought so small as to what's in a certain neighborhood or what's just in Huntington. It's what's going to be in the region. Daggone. When Christian Spears called me yesterday and Brad reached out to me yesterday to tell me what it was, I can't repeat on what I said, but it was joyful, but it was holy.
How amazing has Christian Spears been? He was talking about bidding for state tournaments and other things. So really, this isn't just a Marshall facility. This is going to be a community facility.
He is a fine man, and he has an even better leader in Brad Smith. We're in perfect position with these two. With Christian, he's dynamic, gets things done. Mike, my buddy Mike Hamrick, was a builder. Well, we're building upon that which we had envisioned. It's at a different location, but frankly, it's a better location for us.
Huntington Mayor Steve Williams, I agree on the location. It's a much better location. I can't argue that point. I won't. It's connected to softball. It's going to be connected to campus. I think it's going to be a fantastic use of that area. And there's going to be so much more going into that area as well. There's going to be so much development. I think it's going to be a beautiful part of Huntington once it's all said and done and all put together. So that's at least, I'm hopeful for that. Hey, there's going to be a baseball park in Huntington. Finally. There's going to be a baseball park. I was joking around with Steve Cotton. I looked at him and said, where's your broadcast setup going to be? You got it in your mind? And he's happy to have a baseball park. I mean, who wouldn't want to have summer? I don't know. We could just think of it this way. Baseball, whatever season we're going to be in, what kind of baseball we're going to have here. Not just state level, Marshall. I mean, I don't know. It's going to benefit everybody. We've got more. And it's not baseball related. We got basketball to talk about. We're going to do that when we continue. We're going to talk a little football with you. And we're going to get your text in, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. I'm your host, Paul Swann. This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
We're taking Paul Swann everywhere. Download or subscribe to The Drive with Paul Swann on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Our text line is open, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Welcome back. It's the Thursday, September 29th edition, The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. Thanks for being a part of today's show. Getting back from earlier today, presser at Marshall, more of an event. Governor Jim Justice presenting Marshall with a check, $13.8 million in economic development funds. That's going to help speed the baseball project along. And we're looking at, as Brad Smith said, Brad, the president of the university, Brad from Canova, spring 2024 for the opening of the ballpark completion. So I'm looking forward to seeing this get going. And I hope that someone sets up a video camera, do some time-lapse photography. I want to see time-lapse photography on the construction site. That needs to happen so we can see this thing progress. Maybe get a webcam out there. Somebody would sponsor that. Marshall can set up a webcam, get someone to sponsor that. People would view that every single day. It would not get old to watch the baseball park being built. And sometimes you'll see Jeff Wagner out there, probably with the tool belt, working on. He's probably getting his license as we speak to operate heavy machinery, whatever he needs to do to get this thing speeded along. Well, with baseball taking probably most of the day today, don't forget there's some other things happening. We got hoops to talk about. Dan D'Antoni starting practice yesterday, opening up practice for the men, so we had a chance to talk to him and a couple of the players. And today I want to focus on Marshall moving into the Sun Belt. Now, yesterday when we were hearing from Dan talked about getting into the Sun Belt. He's not down on the Sun Belt the way maybe some are as far as the quality is concerned. And just to take you back to yesterday when we mentioned it, Dan talked about he's watched every Sun Belt. Now, I don't know if he's actually watched every Sun Belt game. If he has, good for him. But he's been researching. He's been watching film on every Sun Belt team.
Yeah, I've watched every game that in their conference, and I've watched us again. Repeated us, and not a whole lot of difference, to be honest with you. It's both athletic conferences, both have a history, but people don't remember Louisiana, but they were the Raging Cajuns back in my day, and they beat us in the NCAA tournament with Mike's team, which was ranked, I think, 12th in the country. They had Bo Lamar, who was top scorer in the country. And Georgia State's had a good run. Of course, we brought in Old Dominion, who's always been good. Happy State was old rival. Southern Conference gave Marshall fits, and so it's a good conference. If you're thinking we're downgrading, we're not. It's pretty par with Conference USA.
Pretty par for Conference USA. So Tavion Kinsey also echoing those sentiments. He says going into the Sun Belt, it's going to be a big jump.
It's a big jump, but at the same time, it's a jump that we're ready for, just to be able to play some new teams and, not have to be scouted and everybody knows our plays and stuff. That's what I'm mostly excited about. So we just get to play against some new competition. I know that competitive level there in the Sun Belt is very high, so we're just ready to match that intensity as soon as we get there. He's excited. Going to be competitive, and nobody's going to know who he is. Yeah, we addressed that yesterday. He thinks that nobody knows who he is, and he's going to be able to get in there and hide. If you don't remember, let me refresh you. I asked him, do you think really anyone in the Sun Belt doesn't know who you are? I would hope not. I would hope they don't know who I am. That's what I need them to. I would hope nobody knows who I am. I would hope I'm just a brand new player in this conference, and that would be great for me because nobody would send a scout, nobody would send a double team or anything like that. I would just be able to play basketball regularly. They know who you are, Tay. They know who you are. Andy Taylor talked a little bit with us yesterday about the Sun Belt as well. He's pretty excited.
Yeah, it's good to get, clean set of teams, especially last year's season was a little rough, but we lost a lot of close games. None of them were really blowouts, so I think this conference will be really good as well. We got, JMU, Georgia State, get to go to the beach, Coastal Beach for the conference tournament. Got App State, that's a big rival. I think it's going to be a really, really fun conference.
See, there you go. App State's a big rival. App State's going to be a big rival in everything. Give it time. For those of you new to the App State rivalry, give it time. It'll come back to you. It will come to you. Just give it time. One thing about this, doesn't matter if it's Conference USA, if it's the Sun Belt, whatever the league, Andy Taylor wants to win the conference. That's his goal. That's maybe not his only focus, but it's a major focus for him.
Win the conference. I mean, I haven't done it yet, so I got one or two chances maybe left. That's the goal every year for me, honestly. It's just do the best I can every day, and at the end of the day, if we're in the conference championship and we come away winners, we do. And we're going to put ourselves in a position to be there. As far as the work, we're going to be the most prepared. Coach Dan's going to have a game plan for us in this new conference to be prepared. We played Louisiana last year, got them at the crib, so we have a little bit of a taste of it. That's the ultimate goal, get to the tournament.
Get to the tournament, win the conference. That is Andy Taylor. Obina and a Chili Killen. He talked a little bit about the Sun Belt as well. It seems like, for the most part, everyone is excited to be in the Sun Belt and think it's a good league.
This conference that we're going in, it's tough. I mean, we played a couple of the teams last season, and we know what we know what we expect, and we know that there's a lot of expectation. After how last year came up, we have to do better this year.
Obina and a Chili Killen. Got to do better this year. So that's our look at basketball. We'll start getting some of your text in. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Texter writes in, it is Appy State here in Huntington. They don't like being called Appy, so we need to call them Appy. Don't worry, beat Appy. Will that work? If you poke the bear, is that going to win? Is that going to win the game? Poke the bear, just call them Appy. Disrespect them. App State, Appy State, Appalachian State. I'll have to say App State. People that are on the air with me on certain days might not say App State, might call them Appy. Might call them different names. We'll try to keep it family friendly, but I will adhere to what the game notes request, and the media is requested to say App State. I will identify Appalachian State as App State. You don't have to adhere to that, though, completely. You're free to call them Appy State all you want. Should be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Speaking of football, Marshall getting set for Bowling Green. Henry Columbi talked earlier this week about preparing for teams now trying to do what Bowling Green did to the Thundering Herd.
Yeah, guys like Troy, they're piggybacking off of what Bowling Green did, of course. It's college football how it is, so we expect that moving forward. We expect guys to do similar things. So it's kind of preparing for that, kind of preparing for Gardner-Webb strong suits, what they do defensively. And once we can do that, I think that we'll be able to get the ball out of our hands. We'll be okay.
So what does Gardner-Webb do on defense? Columbia explained.
Yeah, they have a really big defensive line. They have some big interior guys, some guys that can get off the edge. They have a good back end, some older guys. I know they're an older team, so they've played together. So I think that they'll be able to try and get after the quarterback just like everybody else. So it'll be interesting to see how we respond.
What's your challenge this week with them?
I think it's more about us this week. I don't think it's more about them. We just need to get back to our identity. What we started the year as, we started off 2-0, one of the best offenses in the country. Obviously, we struggled last week. So, one game won't define us, and we're going to try and bounce back here this week.
Bounce back game hopefully coming up against Gardner-Webb. That's Saturday. We've got the game for you starting at 12:30 right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Texter says, I will always call them Appy. Nobody calls them Appy but us here in Huntington. So Appy it is. Again, I have to adhere to broadcast standards. I have to remain above it. I have to be respectful. I have to. Look, I know a couple of people down at Appalachian State. I don't make them mad. I mean, maybe I do, but I don't want to make them mad. So I got to call them Appalachian State, App State. I have to. It's just, on Saturday, game day, pregame show, it's App State. Marshall versus App State. Guy that usually sits to the left of me, he's probably going to call him Appy, Appalachian. He's going to call him a whole bunch of different names, all in the same breath. Me, it's going to be App State. But you are free to call them Appy. Anything you want. I hope to see a lot of you for that game. What's attendance going to look like on Saturday? I know weather's going to be an issue. Weather's going to be an issue. The opponent, not exciting some of you. The win-loss record, not thrilling some of you. We're going to see a good crowd for Saturday. Hopefully, sort of a soft reset. Let's get this season refocused and go out and try to win the rest of them, starting with Gardner-Webb. Honestly, it could be a average attended game. It could be a huge crowd. I don't know what's going to happen. Weather also is going to be a big factor here in this. And so we'll see what happens on Saturday. But if you can't join us, I'll be there with you. And I go on the air at 12:30. We'll have the game for you as well right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. So our big story today, if you just joined us late, Marshall receiving a check for $13.8 million. This is economic development funds that Governor Jim Justice presented to Marshall earlier in the afternoon at the future site of the Marshall baseball facility, which is going to pair quite nice with the softball. I mean, there's going to be a lot of benefits there. You can have really a nice facility, a nice complex. There's going to be shared parking. There's going to be shared batting cages. I mean, how amazing is that going to be? Build it really nice so both the softball and the baseball teams can benefit from it. And it's going to be, it looks like home plate from the way, again, I'll have to wait till the design, the renderings coming out here. But it feels like just kind of getting the idea that it's going to be looking outward toward the practice facility. I think first base is going to be closer to the softball stadium. I'm not sure what the ultimate design will look like. Hopefully we'll get that sooner than later, get the rendering, get a kind of idea of what that's going to be about. But I think that's what we have to look forward to when it comes to what we can expect from this baseball facility. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of The Drive here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Back tomorrow for our Friday edition. It's probably going to be a quiet day tomorrow. We don't have a governor dropping by every day, dropping money on us, like $13.8 million. So we'll have a quiet day. It'll be our final day before game day. Marshall taking on Gardner-Webb. Hope you're with me. Before we go, let's see. Text coming in. Yes, don't worry, Beat Appy. I'm with you there. Don't worry, Beat Appy. All right, that's going to be the battle cry. Don't worry, Beat Appy. Have a great night, everyone.
WRBC Huntington, W227BS Huntington, your flagship home of the Marshall Thundering Herd and The Drive with Paul Swann, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.